Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Ross Carter. I work for the Drinks Trust, which is the drinks industry charity. For those of you who don't know the Drinks Trust, we support everyone in the drinks and wet-led hospitality industry, from the point of production to the point of sale. So that's vineyard all the way to back bar, or indeed to independent retailer, and everyone in between. I may give you a little bit more about the Drinks Trust at the end, but I'd rather kind of crack on if that's all right. Today we're here to discuss employee well-being and productivity in the workplace, which I think is a increasingly hot topic, not just in our industry, but generally. I think with the advent of kind of more education around well-being, and particularly post-pandemic as well, with the return to work and flexible working, I think it's become more and more of a subject which is spoken about certainly amongst HR professionals, but in the wider industry and not just ours. Before I introduce you to our panel, I'm just going to take you through a few statistics to set the scene. So bear with me, hopefully this will work. So it is said that each year mental health costs in the UK are approximately 56 billion, would you believe, of which the annual cost of absenteeism is approximately £6 billion. 76% of professionals are experiencing moderate to high levels of stress. 35% of employees report that stress they experience at work has had a negative impact on them. And those are broad statistics from the UK. Recently, in the last couple of weeks, the Drinks Trust concluded its annual survey of the industry. So this is industry specific now. And what those respondents revealed was that 43% of our annual survey respondents claimed that their well-being had worsened in the last 12 months. Stress and anxiety, depression were the top three factors affecting our annual survey respondents' well-being, and over 40% of our annual survey respondents believe their managers have never talked to them about companies' resources, tools available to support their well-being. Now, I just want to make sure it's clear here that I don't think these are, particularly specific to our industry. I mean, this is probably endemic of working conditions generally. I do know that obviously we're quite a high intensity industry in terms of the workload that's carried out, but I think this is probably quite broad across other industries too, but those statistics are specific to our industry. So before we get started, I'm just going to introduce you to our panel briefly. We've got Zara Irving, Head of Client Services at Yes More, Claire Whitehead, Head of Education and Development at Liberty, Lucy Parker, Trade Director at Jeroboam's, and myself. And I'll leave that slide up. So what I'm going to do now, bear with me, like a TV talk show host. Does that work? Sorry, I needed the slides in front of me. So I have, as you know, we have prepared some questions, but having reread them, they're very statistics heavy. So I think we're going to do something a little bit easier. I think that obviously, hopefully those statistics have kind of helped to set a scene that not just our industry, but generally in society, there is quite a significant challenge when it comes to employee well-being and its impact on productivity, and in fact that they're conversely related. I know your three businesses have taken quite significant steps to tackle or to have services in place to help employees with their well-being. So what I might do, Zara, if you wouldn't mind opening and giving us a little bit of background about Yes More and the work that you're doing there.
Yeah, absolutely. So Yes More is a creative digital marketing agency, specialising in drinks. So essentially we do the creative and the social. We have a fantastic team. And mental health is sort of the backbone of Yes More. Taking care of our employees is, one of the most important, if not the most important thing for us. So a lot of the initiatives that we have are to ensure that our employees are all, looked after, but not just our employees, but also our clients, our suppliers, everybody. So we have a lot of initiatives in place to ensure we can do that. I can give you some examples. Talking from a personal point of view, I'm just going to talk about when I've been in a previous role. And it was, 6 p.m, time to go home. I was starving, I was tired, I was done with my work for the day, was not going to be productive in any sense at that point. And I was ready to go, I had my laptop closed, and I looked around and everyone was sort of sitting at their desk, and I was like, there's no one moving. Like, what's up? It's time to go home. And there's this really big choice between needing to rest and recover and go home and, you know, fulfill your personal needs, and the need to belong, so the need to fit in. And I think humans always want the need to belong. That will always come first. So I sat back down, opened back my laptop, and kind of was like, all right, I'll just sit here then until it feels okay to go home. And when I came to Yesmo, I was like, right, you know, Tom over there, co-founder, and Dan, are fantastic that they built the foundations of Yesmo on, you know, employee and mental health well-being. So it's a shared responsibility between not just the employee, but also the employer, to put their mental health and well-being first, and it will increase productivity. As we all know, you know, if you're well rested and happy, your output is going to be far greater. So essentially, we decided that, you know, we can agree with each other. We're not going to work weekends. When it hits 6 o'clock, you can go home. Hell, if you have a headache at 2 o'clock, take a break. Go for a walk. Like, you're not going to be productive sitting here. So we've developed a mental health manifesto where it's not just for us, it's our suppliers, it's for our clients, where we say, right, we will ensure that, you know, we always take our holiday, for example. You know, we've got 22 days of holiday at Yesmo. We don't want to carry any of those over. You have to use them, and it should actually be a marker in part of your, you know, in your PDRs when you're assessing your employees. Have you taken your holiday? Because, you know, you're no good to me if you're, you know, not doing that, not resting. And we have things like turning off emails over the weekend, and it's not cool to stay late. If you want to and you know that's your thing, great. I'm a morning person. I will get up at 5 a.m. with my kids, not because I want to, and I will work then because I know by 4 o'clock I'm done. So it's just making sure that, you know, our employees never feel like they have to prove a point to belong. You can belong just by understanding that everybody's in here for the same reason. We want to be happy, we want to be fulfilled, but we need to put our mental health first. And if a company believes in that, then your employees should also, you know, take that and not feel judged and feel a sense of belonging, that you're all there for the same cause.
And in terms of outcomes, I mean, I'm sure if you kind of set up a business with this as a central facet of what you're trying to achieve, it's not like you've got a before and after to do a measurable. But I mean, generally speaking, what do you see as having been the outcomes of led with staff wellbeing?
Yeah, so I mean, lots and lots of things. Our employees, I'd like to think they are all incredibly happy. A lot of them have said, you know, this is honestly one of the best places I've worked for. I know that if I, you know, need to pick up the kids or I've got a headache, I can do that without being judged. We have a flexible remote working at Yesmo, so you can we've got actually work from anywhere, so work from pub, work from home, work from co-working space, whatever you want. And we also actually give our employees a allowance where if they're working from pub, they can expense up to a certain amount every day and spend the day there, because, you know, sometimes for some people, working at home, for example, on your own all day isn't going to be good for their mental health. If they feel better going to a co-working space or a pub or whatever, they can do that. So there's lots of different ways we've implemented it in that sense. We've got working allowance for lunches, and it doesn't necessarily need to cover you. If you want to meet up with somebody and take that time out, then that's also fine. We've got Slack, which we use, and WhatsApp, and we very much keep it that Slack is for work, and that's where work happens, and WhatsApp, and that's how our clients can talk to us. And WhatsApp is for any emergency, so that you don't need to log in and make sure you haven't missed anything.
I'm going to move it along. Claire, I know that social responsibility is quite core to the work at Liberty, and no doubt wellbeing is part of it. Can you give us a little bit of a rundown of how Liberty has implemented that?
Yeah, absolutely. So employee wellbeing has always been at the forefront at Liberty, but it's certainly taken more precedence since the pandemic. I think everybody's seen certain things change since the pandemic, so it's something we've been really working on. We have certain things in place, like you mentioned, our employee assistance program, but actually for us, I mean, look, I love what you're talking about with what you do. It's about the environment that we provide. That's the most important thing for us. We want everybody to feel that they're in a safe environment to show up as they want to be at work every day, and that's where it starts. Your statistic also about managers, that was a really interesting one, because we've been really investing in management training, because we believe those conversations, those quality conversations between managers and employees are a really good place to start to understand what's going on within your business with mental health and general well-being. So that's what we're doing. We're doing a number of different things culturally as well. You mentioned about going home, sort of everyone has to stay late, so that's not really a culture we like. And so we once a month have something called Tools Down Thursday, where literally at 5 p.m. everybody has to put their computers down, and we all take half an hour, 45 minutes to socialise. Yes, there's sometimes wine there, but non-alcoholic options as well. But it's a really important time for people to talk to each other across teams, because you can't put all the pressure on managers as well to be the point of contact for each individual. There might be a breakdown in relationship there. So we want to make sure there's people across the business that everybody knows that they can speak to. We have something called the buddy system. So when people start at Liberty, we have a big buddy breakfast from people, old employees and brand new employees, and everybody sort of gets matched up with people that they can go to for sort of extracurricular things if they need, not just sort of managers as HR as points of contact. So there's always levels of contact within the business. We also have some wellbeing champions from the Drinks Trust, as well as mental health first aiders. So there's lots of approaches that we're taking from lots of different stances to make sure that our employees have lots of different places that they can go to talk about mental health and wellbeing.
And I suppose, I mean, obviously, wellbeing's been at the heart of what Liberty does since its inception. But as you say, post-pandemic, it's kind of slightly evolved. I suppose there is more of a before and after in Liberty's sense. And what do you see as being significant changes pre-post-pandemic in terms of work culture, well-being, productivity? I mean, working from home. What differences stand out to you?
There's quite a few differences. We grew massively over the pandemic, so we've increased numbers in the offices, and so before the pandemic, work from home was an option, but it was never really taken up. Afterwards, I think a lot of people have valued that time, whether work from home. We don't have work from pub, but that sounds great. I'm up for it. But now we have a really flexible policy for people when their jobs will allow. We believe that their productivity shows their work, so it doesn't matter whether they're in the office or not. However, we do have a really fantastic culture at Liberty where a lot of people do actually want to be in the office and socialise and see people, because that's a really important thing as well. So we have to be flexible for the needs of both. In terms of what sort of we've seen, I think definitely we will see data of people probably taking more time off for mental health post-pandemic. But in terms of what we've been doing to try and help that, I think the feedback from employees has got more positive about the openness of conversation, and that's definitely a really important part.
Thank you. Lucy, do you want to give us a little bit of an introduction to Jerry Bones and what you're doing?
I work for Jerry Bones. I'm the trade director, but it's a business in sort of three parts. They've got shops, the trade channel that I oversee, and then sales to private individuals. So it's quite a kind of complex business in terms of we've got people working in our shops and we've got people in our head office as well. So we're not all in the same place at the same time, which is, I suppose, different to manage from a wellbeing perspective.
Now, I know that Jerry Bones have been on the front foot a bit when it comes to employee wellbeing from conversations that we've been having ongoing for the last year or so. What's driven that, do you think, in terms of a work culture?
I think a lot of it comes from our CEO. He fully believes that people who are happy at work will be productive at work, and I think he works quite closely with the Drinks Trust as well, and has been quite inspired by the work that you guys have been doing in terms of promoting wellbeing. Quite a few people from our business attended the courses you ran recently, and what that did for us is that really opened the conversation within the business about wellbeing, and it kind of promoted awareness of mental health in the workplace. Those stats you put up at the beginning, nobody was aware how much sort of people, in terms of productivity, lose as businesses, and how much time off is taken by people due to mental health. So it was a real kind of eye-opener to have all those pieces of information. And then the fact that we've had people who've had training, they are now sort of champions within our business, and they each champion a different sort of bit of well-being, so physical and mental, and there's somebody who's really into nutrition, so she covers that bit. Everyone's kind of taken the bit they're most interested in, and so we have those people within the business, and they're driving the agenda basically of well-being. So we're going to have a well-being day this month, where everybody in the company can come in. We're going to have a health checkup. It's all voluntary, you don't have to sign up, and it's confidential as well. But you can come and have your health checked, you can come for a massage, you can come and do yoga. There's going to be loads of activities throughout the day, just to encourage people to think about this a bit more and make it part of their everyday life. And then following that, we're going to have, every month, there'll be some sort of wellbeing activity, which will be promoted via a newsletter, and something going on within the business. So I think, it's becoming more part of the daily conversation. It's on our training website. People are talking about it. It's just there more and more now, which is really good.
That's right, thank you. Claire, I'm going to go back your way and then work my way back in. To my mind, there seems to be a little bit of potentially a conflict between well, I think particularly for younger people coming into well, not just our industry, but any industry these days. I think the need for productivity that businesses have to balance with employee well-being, and I think that a lot of stress seems to be derived from the pressures that I think particularly younger people who post-pandemic are coming into the workplace, but maybe not full-time, maybe a couple of days a week. It's not the culture I entered into, I think, when I started work 25 years ago. Is there anything particularly within your organisation that you're conscious of in terms of these younger people joining, in terms of the expectations they may have, and the changes to the workplace culture that's happened post-pandemic?
Absolutely. So we actually, statistically, are quite a young company at Liberty Wines, and so it's really important we take their needs into consideration. We certainly make sure that, again, the environment is a really safe place for people to come to work, or not, work from home if that's something that they want to do much more. We tap into a lot of what the younger guys, I don't want to talk about age so much because it's actually just a general sort of thing, but we tap into what everybody wants. So we do a lot of surveys around the office, and we find out exactly what people would like to see more of at Liberty Wines in terms of mental health and wellbeing. So again, we do something quite similar to Jeroboam's. We have Pilates, and we do lots of things for wellbeing, as well as things for the mental health side of things, and it's much more based around our sort of management training and then making sure that those conversations happen.
Lucy, you obviously mentioned that Jeroboam's is quite unique in the sense that you've got off-site, workforce as well as head office workforce. So management, there's a lot of talk I find about, and quite rightly, about management and managers understanding how to have a wellbeing conversation with staff. You've obviously got lots of off-site managers of shops, I imagine, across London and elsewhere. What about managers' well-being? I mean, it's an open question. It's not specific to see whether you're doing anything about it. But I'm just conscious of the fact that I think a lot of pressure does get put on the middle ground in a sense, because there's more of an impetus now towards management knowing how to have a healthy well-being conversation with staff. But oftentimes there's an awful lot of pressure on management to achieve business needs as well as look after staff. I mean, are you conscious of particularly with off-site as well as on-site workforce, the management role and their challenges?
Uniting people who work across different geographical locations is always quite tricky. I suppose there's kind of two factors, two ways we try and manage it. So one is a kind of easy sociable one where we every month on a Friday we do a kind of lunch at the office, and we invite people from the other locations to come join us, and it's just something like a team will cook for people. It's quite relaxed. It's just a chance to talk to people that you wouldn't normally talk to, so that you've got other touch points within the business. And then on the other side, we use a platform to help with our one-to-ones. So this what we use is called Open Blend, but it's basically a platform that's set up to help drive open conversations. It's got a section on your physical health, work-related and non-work-related issues that you might be wanting to talk about. It prompts you to drive the conversation. So before you have a meeting with your manager, it works both ways. You can put a talking point on this platform. And that's often the hardest part of talking about something, is just starting the conversation. So it just helps people to have those conversations, and then it gives you cues. As a manager, it'll give you cues, right? So and so said this. These are questions you can ask, like nice open questions, just to help you with your one-to-ones, because it's not always easy, is it, to kind of know what to say or know how to ask an open question. So we find that really helpful. And I think not everyone needs to invest in a platform like that. You could just have a template within your business that has a sort of team member-led template and a manager-led template, and just gives them cues to help with conversations, because not everybody's naturally going to be good at coaching.
And is that a specific tool that you're using within the organisation?
Yeah, so the platform we use is something that we sort of have a subscription to, a specific tool to help with one-to-ones and having productive conversations.
That's interesting, because I think it's a big learning curve for management these days. I think in terms of you know knowing how to best manage situations. I mean, for some people it comes naturally, I think, but for many others it doesn't. It's a learning. Sarah, you mentioned when you opened about your policy being quite, that you've put in place, being quite open and being shared not just obviously with staff but with the wider industry, with suppliers. That's a little different, I think. Perhaps. I mean, I think a lot of businesses are being very clear about what their well-being policy are, or their DEI policy is. But I think, it seems like yes, we've gone a little further than that. And what was behind that, and what you're hoping to achieve with it?
I think as an agency, we have a lot of different clients. Some are lovely, some are a little bit more challenging, and can take a toll on the mental health of us. And we don't want to lose that client. But they might challenge us in more than one way. So we go above just saying, okay, we've got things to keep our employee happy and healthy and whatever. But actually, when we do an onboarding with any of our clients or suppliers, as part of our onboarding process, we include our mental wellbeing manifesto into it. And it's almost like a contract that's not necessarily signed, but a contract. So too much. A contract to say, we're going to take care of each other, and at the end of the day, we're all humans and we all deserve to be treated right. I think there's a huge pull in productivity that in the economy that we're brought up with. With the rise of AI tools and all these productivity tools and all this stuff, and it's like, there's a sway between we being replaced with some computers to do things faster and better. And actually, we can do the best job if we are well rested, if we treat each other well. So we're going above and beyond in that sense. Very much like you, we actually have a mental health program that we subscribe to called Spill. Where it's incorporated into our Slack channel that we use day to day, and you can have a sort of, for managers, you can have managerial one-to-ones with people that aren't necessarily in your company, but managers across loads of businesses can sign up. You can have an open panel with them. You can have one-to-ones. On Fridays we have a anonymous sort of feedback to a nominated person that the program automatically generates, and it can be clients too, where you can just write a message, because sometimes you can say, look, you've been hard to work with this week. You can say that and start that conversation. Or genuinely, it's good to open up about these things, because people are sometimes you can be good at saying, you've been great this week, well done, fantastic. You can also say, I found it quite difficult this week, and it was really hard. I appreciate this, and because it's anonymous, it actually gives an open forum, which is really important, because to start that discussion openly and anonymously.
Presumably, it was just shared with the individual in question, not with the.
It was just shared with the individual in question, absolutely, and they'll get sort of on a Friday at 5 p.m. all of these comments, and it's quite nice to open up conversations that way.
Yeah, it's interesting. I suppose this is suddenly very loud now, didn't it? I think with the point perhaps we were discussing before, which is management and their interaction with staff and how that's changing and how well-being's past that. I think the open and honest management of expectations, I think probably is past that, probably the wrong way for it. But I suppose in terms of what you're doing as an agency with the wider industry, that's also in itself a kind of open and honest management of expectations. Having worked with many agencies in the past, I think I could well imagine that there's an awful lot of time-sensitive pressure around the work that you do and some expectations which are perhaps a little bit unwieldy.
At the end of the day, like, we're not in a job where we're surgeons, and I was saying to you earlier, doctors. It's not make or break saving lives. Thankfully, I don't think I could cut with that job. Kudos to the NHS. But if something goes wrong, okay, fine, we'll fuck up, and it's okay to say, I fucked up last week on this. No big deal on this. Don't worry about it. I had a colleague call me last week and just be like, I did something really bad. I was like, what? And she was like, well, I sent out a wrong message on Facebook and it should have gone on Instagram and it was at the wrong time and I don't know if the clients noticed. I was like, okay, I really don't care. Like, I was like, just tell them, we're human, we make mistakes. It's not the end of the world, And she was just like, oh, God, thank God, I thought I was going to get fired. My boss would have killed me in my last job. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's fine.
Yeah, I think it's important that as organisations that we're conscious of the fact that I think a lot of people put themselves under a lot of undue pressure, and that we need to be, as managers, leading and managing that directly. One open question, I think, I'll just if all of you to comment and to finish up on, in terms of where you're hoping to take your staff wellbeing work in the future, in the months and years ahead. What future plans do you see as part of it? I'll start down the end and work my way back.
Me again. We are constantly evolving this. It's something that is getting more traction across all industries, and so for us, we're constantly researching things, but it has to be right for us. We've looked into a lot of different platforms and programs, and many don't feel right. It has to fit your business, and it has to fit the people in the business, and it has to be fit for purpose. So we are constantly evolving that. We have a committee, we call it like it's a secret committee, called Unwind, because it's about the well-being of the staff. The play on words there, and they meet regularly to discuss any things that are sort of hot points within the business, within the people that work there, that we can then take to senior management and have a chat about some solutions going forward. And it comes from bottom up as well as top down. And so the answer to that is we're constantly evolving with this sort of stuff, as is everybody, I think, right now.
Yeah, I pretty much second that. It's it's trial and error what we're doing. So we will be doing our calendar of events, and if it all goes well, we'll carry on doing that, and then we'll build on that. But equally, things might not work so well, and there might be people in the business who just aren't really engaging. And so either we need to find out how to engage with them, or we realise that there are people who are quite happy and content to just do their own thing, and they don't necessarily need us there for them. So it's just establishing kind of boundaries within what we're setting out to do and seeing what works.
So interestingly, I think only 4% of all mental health research goes into prevention. Everything else goes into like curing it, drugs, and all these things. And at Yesville, we're always constantly looking at prevention. So, of course, with you guys, and Tom, my colleague, did a suicide prevention course and spotting that. And we're offering that up we're intending to offer it up to everyone in the agency so that everybody can be mental health first aid trained and everybody can take the suicide awareness course if that's what they want to do. And also, rather than telling people what's available, we're asking them to let us know, because asking them for recommendations of what they feel might be worthwhile is great. We've got things, I mentioned we do work from home a lot. We're going to add sort of a pimp your workspace onboarding parts. So when you start with us, you can get a plant, because we know that having plants around you helps, and all these sort of things, of every little thing that we can do to try and get people to feel better. And also less about labelling. Personally, I'm really sick of everything being labelled when it comes to mental health. You've got, I have depression, I have panic attacks, I have ADHD, what about if you just have your shit time? Like, where's the label with that? So, with more and more, we are trying to say to people, like, it's okay, tell us how you feel, or if you're not feeling up to it, you don't need to go into it, just say you need some time. So, I guess to answer your question, it's completely being open and trying to take recommendations and thoughts from anyone in our company on how we can change.
Thank you. Thank you all. And I think that was a nice segue to end on. It's an interesting statistic to know that 4% of expenditure is on prevention. It is a space, I think, as an organisation we're very interested in. We are doing some work, maybe with some of the organisations here, maybe not, I couldn't possibly say, that's coming in the future. If there's anybody out there or any organisations, particularly mid-sized organisations who don't have easy access to kind of employer well-being and productivity solutions, we are working on something as it happens. More on that in the months ahead, but please do get in touch with us if that's something that you as an organisation have an interest in and see some value in. I'm sure you'll hear more about it in the near future anyway. Also, on final note, I just want to say it is Mental Health Awareness Week, I believe, this week. And obviously we're talking about employee wellbeing, and I would like to just remind you all that the Drinks Trust does have a suite of services available to you and your staff, your family in fact too. Our Restore services, we have a 24-hour helpline, we have free counselling, we have sleep and insomnia treatment, we have mindful drinking. It's all totally free of charge and accessible to anybody in the industry and your direct relatives too. So please go to our website, find out more, please spread the word. Thank you very much everyone for coming, and thank you for attending everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Ross.